As I started one of my broadcasts on my channel this week, in the world of the schizophrenic and psychotic government that is the U.S. government of the United States of America, we move on and roll forward in what is one of the most ludicrous shutdowns that we could ever face, led by none other than Chuck Schumer, who now receives a message from not only President Trump, but Barack Obama. Oh, a message that many have forgotten, of course. So I couldn't find any better way to present this than with the help of my interpreter, which would be none other than Gavin Newscomb. And so if Gavin, you can help, because I want to make sure I give this enough flair, if you could help interpret this for me, because when you're dealing with Chuck Schumer on one side and Hakeem Jeffries on the other, Trump and Obama, you know you have an issue to deal with, especially when they both give you a message of not peace, a message that tells you it's time to come to the table, time to come to a resolution. But why, would you ask? With so many millions of Americans about to lose their benefits, it would only make sense that you not hold in the funds any longer, hold the government hostage, but rather allow things to flow freely. Because the time's come now to pass the buck, to push forward, to no longer hold the American people hostage, to release those funds. With the clean CR bill now holding in government the way it has been for so very long, and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries pretending not to hold the American people hostage, which is specifically what they're doing. Because the BS can only last so long, and you can only pretend for so long. You can only hold hostage the government for so long. Because eventually, the people wake up. And they have. And what happens now is what you're about to hear. Because it came from Obama himself. And that is the real problem. Because if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries forgot this little speech, well, then they really forgot everything. And it's a story I'll bring you in just 1 minute. Of course, I had a little fun with the interview that Gavin Newscomb just did, and everybody mocking the hand gestures, but of course HuffPost took the opportunity to use that and suddenly talk about Trump's hand gestures, trying to distract from the mockery that Gavin Newscomb received. Nobody was really sure what he was doing there. If we're going to have to deal with that with the next presidential candidate, which more than likely is going to be the case, because we've heard that he's going to run, and we've also heard that Jasmine Crockett was going to run for Senate, but, I saw in the comments, oh, Justice, that's never going to happen. You so sure?
Potential of a Senate run. How seriously are you weighing that? Because there are some deadlines looming here.
I am seriously weighing it to the extent that I'm about to spend a lot of money to get data. So I'm a data-driven person.
She's a data-driven person. Oh, Jasmine Crockett's a data-driven person. You just have to love that statement. I mean, she's so eloquent in her speaking, so thoughtful in her thought process, so able to actually govern, but she's a data-driven person to find out if she could run for Senate. Of course, that's only if Cornine's not running, because if he's running, I can't win, and I'm not going to run anyway. She actually does state that, because she's about to be redistricted out of her seat in the midterms. That's why she's seeking a Senate seat, because we need to hear from Jasmine Crockett any longer. But it goes on because we have many issues happening right now, because it appears everybody's losing their mind, right? ICE and all their efforts. It's never about the criminals that they're chasing. It's never about the people that they're arresting. No, it's about their actions, even when the criminals themselves get themselves stuck in local business signs. MS-13 gang member fleeing from ICE in Houston, well, didn't make it so far, finding himself trapped behind a sign. But of course, ICE is doing everything wrong themselves, right? They're the problem in this society, is at least the Democrats want you to believe. Never focus on results, never focus on what they're doing, never focus on the fact that they're trying to secure anything, because maybe everything we're seeing is a fake, right? Because that's what the Biden White House wanted you to believe. Everything you were seeing about Biden, the way he wandered off, was all a fake. It was a deep fake. It was a cheap fake. Well, maybe not. Because Karine Jean-Pierre, being questioned here by the Oversight Committee, has to make a little admission. Much like everything else that's being admitted now about the Biden administration and his presidency, everything was an illusion. Well, at least what you were being told was an illusion. Listen in here for a minute.
When you use the term cheap fakes, was that choice of words in the moment, or was that something that had been prepared ahead of time as a talking point?
It was prepared.
Did you or did anyone ever verify if the videos you were talking about were in fact cheap fakes?
I believe so.
What is a cheap fake? I really don't know.
It was something that we did not coin. It was something that the media coined. They did the work. They did the legwork on coming up with that terminology.
And like we always did in the Biden administration, we relied on the mainstream media to run the administration for us, so we simply took the term that they created and used it, because it was coined by the media, because it was a great way to distract from what was actually happening with the president, and nobody would admit to at the time that he was wandering off. And the cheap fake excuse seemed to be a great way to cover it all up, but of course, will anybody be held to task on this? Thus far, the answer has been a big, fat no. Psychotic and schizophrenic government. It was the only way I could think to coin it. But Karine Jean-Pierre was the great orator of the time, wasn't she? Well, that's also not aging so well anymore, because if you can believe it, almost as if hell is frozen over again, when Chuck Todd is asked who is the best communicator of this generation, just listen to what answer he actually gives.
Who's the best communicator of this generation?
I guess you have to say it's Donald Trump.
He's your answer for a lot of things today.
I would have said, this is going to surprise a lot.
Why would that surprise anyone? He is the best communicator, one of the few people who can speak to many people, because he speaks through results and actual actions, not sound bites, talking points, and things that don't make a difference. He goes on to say that Obama would have been one of the best, and I'm going to actually use one of Obama's own speeches to show you why what you're seeing happening in today's government should never be happening. Because the Democrats are the ones who told you it should never happen. But I guess they forget that now, because there's different mechanisms at work. And I've told my audience this time and time again, there's a reason for the shutdown. And it has nothing to do with you and I. It has nothing to do with the people who are going to lose all their SNAP benefits. Now, it's far more self-serving than that. And it's self-serving for Hakeem Jeffries. It's self-serving for Chuck Schumer. It's self-serving for those who believe that they have leverage. But leverage for whom and leverage for what? Over the Republicans? No. You see, they all have a problem. Their party's fragmenting. They're losing control to the likes, if we go back to Jasmine Crockett, to the likes of AOC, to the likes of potentially Gavin Newsom. And what happens when all these folks who've been in the halls of government for so long suddenly are in jeopardy of no longer being there? They panic. They lock everything up, holding something hostage. When you ask them what they're even voting for, they don't know. And I'm going to play that clip for you. I'm going to play Obama's clip and piece this all together very concisely for you in just one moment. Before I do, huge favor. To help the algorithm understand that Lisa's news is important to you, there's something important to her that I need you to do. I need you to make sure your bell is checked to all. Your comments, your shares, lets all these public platforms know that Lisa's news matters. I've done this on my channel, and my channel has exploded. It's one of the many parts of Restricted Republic, our home platform, restrictedrepublic.com. You see the address there. That's our home news platform. There's no commercials, no interruptions. We'd love you to go there and subscribe. Very often, almost every day, I continue my podcast at Restricted Republic to its full-length version. Lisa puts exclusive content there. Material you can't get anywhere else because we're only comfortable airing it on that platform. It was created for a reason, and once you find out how much your Biden administration now suppress so much information, you understand why we created it. And we'd love to have you there. We'd love you, if you're new here, to subscribe to Lisa's channel. And we'd love you to subscribe to our other public channel, which she'll put above, which is yours truly. Because this woman has worked diligently for years to provide you all the news that matters. So please make sure your bell is checked all. Make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure you put a comment. Make sure you share the video so that the algorithm knows that Lisa matters to you. And now let's get back to this video.
That as a first black couple, we couldn't afford any missteps.
Yeah.
And you also say, as a black woman, I was under a particularly white hot glare. Did you feel that?
For sure. You can't afford to get anything wrong because we didn't get the grace that I think some other families have gotten.
Yeah. She really said that. The Obamas didn't get the grace that some other first families have gotten. You know, the likes of Karine Jean-Pierre, the likes of Kamala Harris, the likes of Michelle Obama should better be served to just be quiet. When your party is fragmenting, what good are any of you doing for the party at this point? Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Keep talking, please, because all you're doing is imploding your party. And trust me, the likes of Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries don't need any help. They're imploding it enough themselves. And the Republicans aren't doing much better, and I'll digress for a moment, because battle after battle, the Democrats lose. Now, they're still winning somewhat in the court system that continues to fight back against President Trump, preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections. Donald Trump's executive order on elections is far-reaching, but will it actually stick? If you will recall, his executive orders seek broad changes to how elections are run. In particular, he requires voters to show proof that they are U.S. citizens before they can register for federal elections. Seemed like a simple concept to most of us. But of course, a Clinton-appointed judge disagrees on new rules that prohibit non-U.S. citizens from being able to donate in certain elections and from being able to register to vote. It would appear to be common sense. But the judge has halted this part of Trump's overhaul of U.S. elections, including proof of citizenship requirement, calling it government over a separation of powers abuse. That judge. Judge Collar Cotley wants illegals to vote in U.S. elections. It's the only thing you could actually conclude by that. Why would that be allowed? In what reality? And it wasn't only a one-page ruling. How about a 120-page ruling? I guess a lot of detail was necessary because she knows it will go to a higher court. These are the battles that Trump has to face on a daily basis while he's just trying to get the government reopened after coming back from overseas, getting egg on his face, having to answer to overseas leaders as to why, after all the progress he has, all the success he has, he can't get the Democrats to reopen government. So one could ask a Democrat exactly why government's closed. Remember, they have created, the Republicans, a clean CR. And if you read it, it is a clean CR. It is simply to reopen the government, to get everyone paid, and then we'll haggle about everything else afterwards. So, on C-SPAN, they ask one of the House Democrats this question, which she should have had a very easy answer to, but listen here to Janelle Benham for 1 second and tell me if they have any idea what they're doing.
Get fed. They did have a clean CR vote on September 19th in the House. Did you vote for it?
I disagree with your characterization, and want to make sure that we're very clear about what Republicans have been doing. Any bill that they've put forth, they've always had some extra stuff to it. There's always been a poison pill to it. So I disagree with your characterization.
What were the poison pills of the clean CR or the continuing resolution? You say it's not clean, that was voted on in the House in mid-September.
Here's what's important.
Here's what's important. I don't have an answer because I don't know what the poison pill was, because I don't even understand what's in the CR. I don't even know what I'm voting against, but I'm going to go ahead and blame the Republicans. It's pitiful, isn't it? You just took away the benefits of millions on top of billions on top of millions of Americans, and you have no freaking idea what you voted against. It's this easy, folks. I know, mainstream media won't show it you this way. This is my job to just keep things very black and white. John Fetterman's fed up. I'm apologizing that we can't even get our shit together and just open our government. Oh, a lot of people are getting rather pissed off right now. And then he concludes with this about Schumer.
Schumer said this gets better politically every day for Democrats. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, ask the hungry people on Saturday. You know, it's like, that's the thing. You know, Americans are not leveraged. This is not some shitty game show about who's winning or whatever. It's just like we have to be better than this and just.
But they're not better than this. Fetterman's right. They're not better than this if they haven't even read the CR. No, this is about using humans as leverage. But for what end? What are they trying to achieve? I've told you what they're trying to achieve. Are they representing we the people? Are they looking out for we the people? Obviously not. The answer is a staunch and dead no. It has nothing to do with it. So, we can go through SNAP benefits, we can go who it represents, but it's irrelevant. This is relevant. Republicans need to act now to make sure those benefits are available to people who depend on them. If they don't, millions of children, seniors, and low-income Americans will go hungry ahead of the holidays. But you should listen to your damn self, right? Barack Hussein Obama? You should be talking to Democrats like you talk to Republicans. Because maybe you forgot your own damn message, haven't you? Because the Democrats most certainly have forgotten your message, but I won't let the American public forget your message. Hypocritical much? Let me remind you.
Shutting down the government just because you don't like a law that was passed and found constitutional. No Congress before this one has ever in history been irresponsible enough to threaten default, to threaten an economic shutdown, to suggest America not pay its bills, just to try to blackmail a president into giving them some concessions. We're not going to submit to this kind of total irresponsibility. Congress needs to pay our bills on time. Congress needs to pass a budget on time. Congress needs to put an end to governing from crisis to crisis. If Republicans do not like the law, they can go through the regular channels and processes to try to change it. That's why we have elections. You do not threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
Well, that was then, and this is now, I guess, huh? It's amazing how quickly Democrats forget this. It's amazing how quickly they forget about 42 million Americans. It's amazing how a government can rule and a court can rule that now they're demanding that Trump pay SNAP benefits. Trump comes back, our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. And now two courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. It appears there's conflicting opinions everywhere now, isn't there? I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP. You see, these courts, they like to pontificate. They like to sound important. They like to get in the headlines because they're activists. but there has to be actual law behind it. And they seem to struggle with that recently. It is already delayed enough due to the Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date. And if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it would be my honor to provide the funding, just like I did with the military and law enforcement pay. The Democrats should quit this charade where they hurt people with their own political reasons and immediately reopen the government if you use SNAP benefits. Call the Senate Democrats and tell them to reopen the government. Now, here is crying Chuck Schumer's office number. See now, Chuck, you received a message from two men, President Trump and ex-President Barack Hussein Obama. Are you going to listen to either one? Or are you simply going to listen to yourself? Because I know you're not listening to your constituents. And can you please allow President Trump the freedom and autonomy to actually deal with real issues like this? DHS is currently fighting off bounties placed on ICE agents' heads in Chicago amid massive encouragement of violence from Democrats. Criminal organizations in Mexico have begun offering thousands of dollars for the murder of federal law enforcement, with payouts escalating based on rank and action taken. $2,000 for gathering intelligence or doxing agents, including photos and family details. $5,000 to $10,000 for kidnapping or non-lethal assaults on standard ICE and CBP officers. Up to $50,000 for assassination of high-ranking officials. Now you see why so many in Trump's cabinet are falling back into bunkers as their new homes? This is the real issues we have to face. So Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, get off your high horses and your bully pulpits and reopen government, because we have real issues to deal with. Not your pontificating that has nothing to do with we the people. Your bluff's been called. Get over it and move on. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless Justice Knight. Signing out.